Did you see that Luka Doncic trade?
Dude, I did see the Luka Doncic trade. So
What did you think of it?
Luka's going to LA, and then what? Anthony Davis and like two other players that I can't even. That's like the Mavs traded their star player.
Right.
Okay, for us guys in the Card Lounge, also welcome to the Card Lounge. That's like trading Pikachu to Disney and not even getting Mickey Mouse for it. It's like getting
like Aladdin.
Not even Aladdin. Like.
Okay, now you're just insulting
Donald
Anthony Davis.
Duck. Not even. Okay, all right, fine. But dude, that's like trading a shiny Rayquaza for a Bidoof.
Oof. Yeah, that's a rough one.
Okay, maybe he's better. Okay, Anthony Davis deserves
it is a rough trade
for a Bisharp. Okay.
Yeah, like
that's not worth the shiny Rayquaza.
It's like trading a first edition base set Charizard for like maybe like a first edition like base set Alakazam. Like, it's obviously a very obvious trade down.
Yes. Yeah. Both first edition, but one is the star player. Clearly. You can't make that trade. I don't know how the Mavs GM comes back from
ever had a bad trade before?
Yes, of course. Of course.
Have you? Oh, you know what I've seen how a lot of people do? They've done like the insane coin flip challenge where it's like double or nothing.
Yeah.
Like you get nothing if you just lose the coin flip. That's a bit too much for me. I think it's cool if you get like, okay, like 10% off the deal or something like that if you lose a coin flip or something, you know?
Right.
But like all or nothing, now that's brutal.
I mean, yeah, some people like to go the extreme with that. I mean, I guess if they agree on the value middle point, it just is something where it's funny. I actually saw that happen at Hawaii PopCon with the Bulbasaur.
Yeah.
And it was funny. Dylan was coin flipping. It was Anthony from Lucky Ball. It was, dude, they coin flipped where Bulbasaur won.
Okay.
And he got his value.
Uh-huh.
But then Anthony went, okay, double or nothing. So they had he already won. And he's like, sure. And then that would mean Anthony would have to pay like double what the slab was worth.
Yeah.
And then the Bulbasaur was like, it would be so bad.
Right.
And then he won that, I think. I hope I'm remembering this correctly. Yeah. But then he goes triple or nothing.
Oh,
so then it's like, I have to give you like $900 for this one.
Yeah.
And then he won that one. So then he was like, okay, I got the slab for free. And I was like, man, what if vendors were cool with this, you could just keep coin flipping every single time until you win.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, at a certain point, like you're betting like $1 million on like $1,000 slap if you keep doing double or nothing.
And eventually, if someone says, "Okay, no, I'm done," then you got to pay up whatever you got to pay up. Honestly, the worst trade I think I've ever done was probably like when I was in school, like when I was younger with the Pokemon.
Oh, that's when like you didn't really like know what you were doing.
Yeah, and you're trading with the older kids, and then the older kids just get you. But I think you kind of have to learn. I think everyone kind of has that story growing up where you just really liked the way one Pokemon card looked. I think I was probably better than most kids, to be honest. And that's why my childhood binder, even though I still haven't found it, unfortunately, which is, I know that's a lot of people's stories, but I do remember having like a really sick binder. Like I can actually mentally picture it in my head. But I'm sure I made like I like really like this Pokemon from the anime, like Starmie or something.
You know, that's the one card I remember from my childhood was I think I had a Misty Starmie.
Yeah, Misty Star. Yeah,
that was the one card I remember I had.
Or Gym Heroes, and then like someone would have like or I'd have like Giovanni's Gyarados, and I didn't have any connection with Giovanni because it's like, oh, that's not a good guy. And so it'd be like an older kid be like, oh, give me your Giovanni's Gyarados holo, but you get Misty Starmie, it's Misty, and I'd be like, okay, that seems like a good trade.
You know what'd be really cool though? You could win the very first giveaway of slabs from the Card Lounge podcast and be our very first slab winner ever.
Completely natural segue. Yes, guys, we have these PSA slabs. We're going to be giving them away. And all you have to do is like this video, subscribe, and then we'll pick some winners.
And we are going to pick the winner from our very first episode, and they are going to win a Surging Sparks and a Twilight Masquerade Elite Trainer box. We're going to do 2 winners. Do you want to pick a first winner?
Sure.
There you guys go. Let's see who wins.
Okay, YouTube random comment picker. All right, guys, that's how you know it's 100% completely random. I'm just going to pick a winner. Okay, Andrea SL5151.
Woo, congratulations.
You're our first winner.
Andrea, you will get a Surging Sparks Elite Trainer Box, and we are going to pick another winner. Second winner, we have ourselves Atlantis Frost 52. Thank you so much for commenting, and we are going to pick the winners for episode 2, which is Prismatic Evolutions giveaway next episode.
Yes, nice. So stay tuned for that, guys.
So you got kind of scammed when you were a kid, huh? Any recent other scams that you've been getting into? Anything at all?
Yeah, there seems to be some scams going around.
Did you buy any booster packs that were tampered or anything like that at all?
No.
That's good, at least.
Yeah, nothing like that.
Oh, you know, one of the biggest scams right now was that CGC thing that happened recently where they completely messed up and sold a bunch of fake cards that were way too expensive for what they were doing. Do you know how many cards that they graded? I actually counted. So CGC released. So basically, CGC released a statement talking about all of the fake cards that they released, right?
Yeah.
With the playtest cards and the beta cards, and they listed every single card or every serial number that they said was impacted, and they said, "Hey, if you have one of these cards, we'll take the card back and we'll review it." They did not use the word fake or illegitimate or anything like that in the message because they really can't yet.
I know.
They know it's fake.
People are making fun of them for that, though.
They know it's fake. They know that they got stuff to do, but like they have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So they're saying, hey, if you have one of these beta cards, we'll take it back and we'll review it again.
Yeah.
Basically, they have 1,500 beta or old playtest cards, which I thought 1,500 playtest cards seems insane to me.
It's so many, right? You wouldn't even play original creators of a game that hadn't been invented yet. You wouldn't even print out that many.
Right, you'd print out like
with.
100 maybe to play between you and your buddies.
And that's probably how. Okay, wait. We should give some background to maybe some listeners and viewers that have no clue what we're talking about. So, guys, we're talking about. You know, this will probably go down in the history books as one of the most infamous scandals in Pokemon history. Even more crazy than Logan Paul's $3.6 million first edition base set case that ended up being G.I. Joe cards. I know a lot of you guys know about that scam because Logan Paul made a video about it. This is a scam that some people speculate, some collectors very high up are presuming that it could go all the way back to one of the OG creators of the Pokemon TCG guys, Akabane. So basically what happened was a bunch of playtest cards hit the market. And they were all categorized by like, oh, these are alpha playtest cards. These were how the cards looked, but before energy symbols and attacks were put on it. It's just a picture of a Pokemon, but we want to make a TCG. Then there were beta. And then there was delta and gamma and, you know, alpha pi, all the different sorority, fraternity letters you could think of. And all these playtest cards came out onto the market. And if my memory serves correctly, PSA didn't want to touch them. BGS didn't want to touch them. And somehow, before any of these could hit auction houses, of course, because auction houses are going to want to make sure that these were authentic, they all got graded at CGC. And I remember videos coming out where people were talking about the cards. And I guess it was stated by CGC that provenance was proven. And provenance is basically when or where you have the original, like someone that has some sort of authority or there's some sort of written or testimonial proof that can kind of prove an item's authenticity or tie its existence to a purposeful like place and time. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, you went very wordy with it, but I get it.
I know. To cover everything it could stand for.
Basically, the cards came out. A creator of the original Pokemon card game vouched for it and says these are the true playtest cards, and some of them are legitimate. There are some that are legitimate.
Yes.
But CGC graded a ton of them, way more than they absolutely should have, and a lot of these came out as fake. They recognize that these are fake because they scanned the cards and they see in the ink that these cards were printed in 2024,
yes.
I think June of 2024, so they can find the exact date these cards were printed in.
Okay, so I remember the first time I saw news about it was from Quichancy on Instagram.
Sure.
And it was Pokemon Flying Master. And Pokemon Flying Master basically discovered
He bought a ton of them.
I guess that, right.
He bought a ton of them.
And so also that was also what people thought was noteworthy. It like was not in his best interest to come out with this data to basically be like, oh, these cards that I bought and spent a lot of money on are fake. But that shows that, he really wanted to be thorough and make sure that, people weren't getting scammed in the hobby. So
isn't that embarrassing that some random dude, not that he's a random dude, but some random person was able to figure out that these cards were fake and CGC couldn't?
Correct. Yeah, that is a little embarrassing. It's like you should just hire that guy, or he needs to start the grading.
But ultimately, like, it's on CGC's reputation is that they vouch for these cards, and we know that they're fake. And they should have scrutinized them a lot more.
A lot more, yeah.
They went a little, maybe, like I said, maybe like they saw the greed, they saw the numbers, they saw that these were beta playtest cards, and they could be the ones to
grade them
and unveil them, and the prestige of that or the honor of that is really huge.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why PSA or BGS won't touch them, is because they're so hard to grade or legitimize or authenticate, is that it's almost a he says, she says scenario.
Yeah.
And it's much harder to grade stuff like that when it's not official. So I get both sides.
Right. So apparently CGC did have a talk with like Akabane and
well, his name is Akabane, but you can call it Akabane.
Is it Akabane?
Because that's Japanese.
I know it would. That's okay. I always thought that, but everyone I hear verbally saying it. So
I
Akabane.
Get it. It's up to you.
Yeah. The one of the original producers of the Pokemon TCG, apparently it's like he signed some of the cards that were proven to be fake by the metadata. So now it's very up in the air now of like, was it people that, used Akabane or like got him to sign stuff where they were trying to tell him, oh, this was the original playtest stuff. There's also like 3 guys that were like, I don't know, a part of his group or like spokespersons for him, that went to Worlds and basically talked to like very high-end collectors to try to get the story out there of the provenance, and then tried to, get these graded through CGC. And it became this whole thing where it was like news for like a week or 2 or a month, and high-end collectors were like, wow, this is a chance to own a piece of Pokemon history. Like if these were all real, that would be so cool. And I think everyone just got so sucked in, like tunnel vision, into like the how cool is this that even 28 years later, Pokemon history is still being unveiled. But then I think people started to ignore certain just like red flag signs. Like, for example, like in hindsight's always 20/20, but the fact that there were gem mint versions of these cards.
It doesn't make sense for them to be in pristine condition. That should have been a red flag. The fact that there are so many of them should have been another red flag. The fact that there are so many different versions of them should have been, like, we can say that now.
It's so easy to say it now.
Like, I can say that because, like, obviously
I remember the
obvious.
first batch and seeing the ones that were like 7.5, 5.5. I was like, okay, these could be real. And I was like, okay, these are cool. Like, if these are a part of history. When I started to see like gem mint copies, I was kind of like, how, if these are that old, they just can't be gem mint. It's like how trying to find gem mint Charizards from when we were kids is like finding a needle in a haystack. Right. So it's like, these would be treated with less care.
Yeah.
These were things that were cut out and used to play test. But before a penny sleeve or a top loader would be even something.
Right. They wouldn't care about that.
People would even consider for a Pokemon card because these weren't collectibles back then.
If you think about it in that way, these people were play testing with these cards. They were planning on throwing them away afterward. They were never planning on preserving them.
Yeah.
These cards are going to have thumbprints, stains,
slamming up the creases, they're being bent on the table, picked back up, shuffled, ruffled.
So basically, that's a massive scam.
Yeah.
Lots of smaller scams happening right now. Reseal packs, tampered packs,
just
rated PSA slaps. You name a scam or name an issue, and those currently exist right now.
Yeah.
Whenever
We've been seeing things in the news, it's just I think you're about to say this, but
whenever there's money.
Whenever there's money, guys, right now the hobby is hot, and whenever there's money to be had or made in something, the scammers will always come out to play. So be careful out there, guys.
Sure.
You know, and it's also a lot about what you're talking about with just the state of the hobby right now. It's like everyone's on edge. And guys, we will get into some like market talk here in a bit on this episode because I mean, the market's just on fire right now.
Let's talk about that.
Well, you know, segueing it from the scam stuff. I mean, we talked about this a little bit, you know, off the pod, but like Yuna and the Pokewall and Haxie tried to do
they opened a tamper box.
And was resealed like Pokemon Go packs.
They got a CP6 box that was like it's currently going for like right around $3,000. So that's not a cheap box.
No, it's not a cheap box. So I didn't think honestly it would be a box that would be worth resealing, but I guess it was.
It's a $3,000 box, right?
Yeah. I talked to Yuna though, and luckily I think she said she knows or at least through the path of how to sell. Like they're not going to be out money.
Yeah. So I had a similar scenario. I just opened up a 151 booster box, and the wrapper or the wrapping on the plastic on the box just was a little bit suspicious to me. It was very loose. It was very crinkly. It wasn't like a clean, crisp wrap. Okay. So I was like, okay, this is a booster box that I cannot sell.
Sure.
My reputation depends on it, and reputation in the hobby is everything. So I can't sell this box. So I thought, okay, we'll just open it up and we'll see if it's fake or not. If it's not fake, not a big deal. If it's fake, no big deal as well.
Was it fine?
It was fine. And I pulled a God booster pack inside of that specific box.
Okay. What God pack did you pull?
It was a 151 booster box. We pulled the whole entire Venusaur line and the complete Blastoise line.
Oh,
so it was pretty good.
That's still good though.
Yeah, no, I'm not complaining. That's my first God booster pack in like 2 years.
2 years? Wow. Yeah. All right, Jake got his God pack. Woo.
Yeah, but that's a box that I can't sell. So I was like, because if I sell it to someone, I could see someone commenting or messaging me back immediately, like, be like, hey, what's wrong with this box? Right. And I don't have a straight answer for them. Yeah. So my reputation's on the line. I'm not going to sell that. Same thing I did a couple of months ago where I had a sealed Luigi Mario box. Mm-hmm. And I want to sell it sealed. But with something that expensive, it's really hard to sell sealed because...
Wait, I've seen your Mario Luigi boxes, though. I thought they looked fine.
No, they are fine to me. Like, I bought them 5 years ago, but I cannot 100% for certain say that they are legitimate, you know?
Sure. Do you remember who you got them from?
No.
Because it was like so long ago?
It's literally 6 or 7 years ago.
Man,
you know what I mean?
That's how long ago you got it?
Yeah, I bought those boxes when they were like $200. So I believe they're legitimate. So what I had to do was I ripped it open, I pulled out the Luigi Pikachu, and I just graded those cards, and I sold those.
Oh, well, dude, then they would have been legit. I mean, if when you got it, the market for them was $200. I mean... I guess but I doubt someone would be trying to scam you out of like no one would have been faking them back then, if that makes sense. As opposed to now where like
you're right.
It could be more prevalent.
You're absolutely right, but there's still the risk of if I sell it to someone and they could scam me and say, "Hey, I didn't receive this box." Or they could rip it open and take out the Luigi Pikachu and say like, "Hey, I opened up this box and I didn't find a Luigi Pikachu." I would give them the money back. I would give them full refund because it's my word against theirs, and I'm gonna believe that they are right.
Well, yeah,
and I can't take that risk.
I got you. So that'd be really scummy if they just like made that up. But I'm sure that's happened before.
Right. Like,
I mean, hopefully for something that big, I guess you wouldn't make like an I don't know. I guess it's if you sell to someone you know. If you sell to a complete stranger, maybe you're like, hey, film this opening at least. But, you know.
Right. Like, that's something that I sold in person because that's a much more worthy transaction.
Right. As opposed to shipping it.
And we both know, like, stores are getting hit up right now where there's so many break-ins happening to card shops right now. Like, we know multiple break-ins. And when I bought Prismatic Evolution, so I got Prismatic Evolutions at GameStop because I pre-ordered some.
Nice. Good move.
I did not go and wait in line because there was 100 other people in line, and I did not want to walk out of GameStop holding sealed Prismatic Evolutions products when I know a line of people are about to be very angry that they could not get any. That's true. I purposely came to GameStop after the initial rush just to pick up my products because I didn't want to have a confrontation at GameStop.
Right. Yeah, no, that'd probably be safer. Yeah, there's probably someone there that like didn't get anything or got one thing, and they might be like, what is that Jake walking away with a whole bunch of boxes.
Yeah, and
but it's all the ones you pre-ordered, right?
Right.
Like,
I'm a scrawny, small guy. I pre-ordered it 3 months ago. It's for, like for my own pack opening. It's for my own giveaways that we're doing like next week and stuff like that. But I don't want someone to attack me, so might as well be a little bit safer, especially right now.
You think someone would attack you outside it, like knowing it was yours and not like on the shelf, like that you took it directly from someone's even like out of, they had zero chance to get it.
Well,
but maybe I know what you're saying though. It's like
we've seen enough fights at Costco
and Best
and
Buys
and Walmart, so that I know enough to be like, okay, I don't want to even like be in that scenario, right? Yeah. It's just to be better to be a little bit safer.
Right. No, it makes sense. It makes sense, and it's crazy because so we talked about that one shop that was in Australia, where they were on the news, I think, and I saw a TikTok of it. It was like the owner was talking about, like, what was more shocking than even just losing all the stuff was how the break-in occurred. And he was kind of like the thieves like cased the joint, or like they knew his travel patterns to and from the shop so that they could like hit the shop at the exact, worst moment for him. And it's like, man, that's awful. If you just, if you have a door now with no bars behind it, that may not be enough to protect your store. I know locally, a card shop where I go play One Piece, used to play Pokemon there, used to play Magic. And this wasn't even now in the heat of the hobby. This was like a year or two ago. Just had someone try to break through their door, but luckily they have those it's like the safety bars behind the door. So even if they cracked the glass of the door, they'd have to like pry open like steel bars, which was like hard. And then the thieves like ran away, like they couldn't get through it. So it's like, maybe you just need that now on your door if you're a shop owner,
Yeah, honestly, I think like for Prismatic Evolutions, I know a lot of stores that pulled inventory because they didn't even want to deal with the rush of Prismatic Evolutions. And I do know stores are just like nervous right now when they're carrying Pokemon cards, which they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be nervous. And people have noticed this on my channel, is that recently for a lot of my videos, I've been doing humorous content, joke content, silly stuff on my channel. And that's honestly just to lighten the mood a little bit, because I think people are taking things way too seriously. And I need people to be self-aware that we are collecting pieces of cardboard here. We don't wish ill will for anyone.
Right.
If I don't collect cardboards, that's fine. I'll just find another hobby. It's not the end of the world for me to pick up skiing or doing photography or something like that, It's not the end of the world. We're just collecting pieces of cardboard. It's not something you need to survive. And I think that's important too, is that if we're talking about flour or rice or, something that's really critical to your well-being, I absolutely get it. But we're talking about Pokemon cards here. So people need to line up and just enjoy things a little bit more.
Yeah. But we realize it's tough for people to enjoy the hobby right now because it's tough to get product, And I know on previous episodes, you guys have heard me and Jake talk about how, scalpers are not a problem. Scalpers are the symptom of a problem. So, Pokemon definitely needs to print more. Scalpers are just going to scalp. It's tough, and it's tough to ask shop owners. Oh, actually, this is something we could get into because I've seen a lot of posts on Reddit or in videos where it's almost like shop owners have to kind of defend their prices. If people are getting mad at shops for selling at prices where the market is dictating that is where the price should sit. And the ironic thing about it is, so guys, try to think of it like this. This is a little like thought experiment. The idea behind scalping, right? Like we know we don't like people that go and just scalp up everything. And when you think of a shop though, right? And how they might approach selling stuff, let's say they have a limited supply of stuff. You want them to be profitable. You want them to stay in business, because they're a type of store that can enact their own store policies that are going to be more customized, as opposed to like your Targets or Walmarts or big box stores where scalpers can, I guess, theoretically just go in if they know when restocks are happening and kind of literally just take everything off the shelf.
Sure.
Now, if a store sells something at MSRP or cheaper, which is what Targets and Walmarts are required to sell at, what's to stop a scalper from just targeting that shop? You know, even if a store is like, all right, 1 per customer, what's a scalper going to do? They're going to make multiple accounts. They're going to get friends. They're going to just hire people. Like their limit to that is their kind of business model that you're not going to do. That's one thing that like has helped me realize it's not worth it for me to go to Costco and wait early in the morning to compete with people. Like it's not worth the time and effort. It's only worth the time and effort to people that are going to go all out with it, like to the extreme with it. And you don't want to compete with those types of people. A perfect example for this, actually, I'm curious, what do you think of just the people that have lined up on at GameStop this past Friday, got in line at 7 or 8 in the morning, waited for GameStops, like I think most open at 11 a.m. or sometimes noon, just to get one, like a mini tin?
Sure.
Or maybe they got a surprise box.
I think that's I think they got a lot of hate. I think people immediately I've seen a lot of photos of people taking photos of the line and saying, look at all these scalpers. And to me, I think that's a line of collectors, because I don't think any scalper is going to wait in line for 3 hours to buy one mini tin or one Blooming Waters collection.
Well, no, some are there in line.
Well, then you would have to ask them. I'm not going to assume that. I will give the people the benefit of the doubt, and I'm not going to assume that. I'm going to say that there's someone that's passionate about the hobby enough to wait in the cold for 4 hours.
But you still tacked on to what I was saying, though. See, you are saying a scalper wouldn't wait there because the time to cost ratio isn't worth it.
Yes.
I would argue it's not worth it for any collector.
I would say it is.
Or any person.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now that there are people waiting in line for 6 hours for like the release of a new game or the release of something new, because they're just passionate to be in that line.
Right. Okay.
Like
okay.
They have an intrinsic value in being there.
And
like
being
it's fun for
that
them.
is true. And I did see like the videos of people camping out, and like if I'll say this. If you truly find that is an enriching part of the hobby where like you do get some sort of value in just that the hangout of that or the spending the time in that, then no argument here.
Basically,
that value
what I'm trying to say is that
worth it.
Someone who can wait in that line for 4 hours to buy something at retail price is willing to say, yes, I did not buy from a scalper. I committed, even though it's costly to me to buy it at retail. It's almost like sending a message, and it makes them feel good internally. You know, it's the same way like donating charity. Are you losing money when you're donating to charity? Yes, but it makes you feel good. So like buying something at retail price, even if it's a bad deal, makes you feel good.
Okay. Then I would argue, though, there's some people in that line, though. I would actually say there's probably more people that are thinking like this, that think that buying at MSRP that way is saving them money if they're looking at it purely from a financial perspective.
Sure.
And what I would like to tell everyone, because me and Jake have talked about this off the pod, is it's actually not, guys. It's a net negative. And we'll explain, like,
this is on you. This isn't on me. I don't agree with this.
What do you mean you don't? We just talked about how the math doesn't even...
I don't recall agreeing with this.
The math of waiting in line. So, let's say you wait in line for 4 hours, right?
Hang on.
If you value your time at even $20, let's say $10 an hour, the amount of waiting to buy the thing at MSRP, you could literally spend that 4 hours making money, sleeping so that you can work better or more efficiently the next day, doing something better with your time, where that money saved, you could just go buy a mini tin from Facebook Marketplace, like something where maybe it's higher than MSRP, but the overall aggregate, you're more net positive. You take more of a loss spending so much time to just, you bought at MSRP, but at how much of a time cost?
No. I absolutely understand like the time value of money. Yeah. I understand your logic behind it. Yeah. My defense is, or my argument is, basically, there are people out there who do not have a job, and they're fine waiting in line for 4 hours to pick up this tin or this box. And like I said, there's intrinsic value in that. They might think camping out in front of a store is fun.
No,
to be there with other collectors.
And that's what I'm saying is, like, if you find that fun, then you do you. Do whatever you want that you think is fun.
You are correct in that I personally would not wait in that line because I think I have a full-time job and I really can't afford to camp out on a Friday in front of GameStop.
Correct. But
yes, I get it.
I think there are people that still think like you, but maybe just aren't putting it together that like that's not the best way. Because so by some people being there that don't really care to enjoy.
Are you saying it's not the optimal way to scalp, and are you about to say there's a better way to do it?
No, it's not scalping. If a collector wants to get it, I'm
where
just
are you
saying
going with it? It's not an optimal way to collect?
It's not an optimal, just use of your time and money, in the sense that if you spend your time or your money more wisely, you can collect better, in that you can have more money to collect or have more time to collect.
Okay, so like once you get into that kind of like argument or that perspective, then you start thinking like, okay, well, what is the absolute optimal thing that I can do with my time to like get as much money as possible? There are things that I can do to make way more money than what I'm currently doing. But I don't do some of those things because perhaps it's morally...
You enjoy them less.
Yeah, it's morally dubious, or I just don't enjoy those things. They're not satisfying. Could I become...
That's true.
Like, I had the option to become a Wall Street investment banker at a certain point. I didn't go down that career path because literally I just think it's soul draining and it's not very fun.
Yeah.
I'd rather be sitting here in front of a podcast with you. And our podcast, it's been a massive money sink, but we do it because it's fun, and hopefully it pays off someday. But we do it because it's fun. Like, literally, we enjoy this.
Right. We enjoy talking about Pokemon in the hobby and the marketplace.
But I get where you're coming from, is that ultimately, from a logical perspective, if you want to maximize the hobby, it's actually better to just get a job, make a lot of money, and then just buy stuff that you can afford, I guess.
Not even that. I just think specifically in an instance where I saw a couple of TikToks where it was like, you know, people are waiting in line where GameStop had on their door, like it was like limit one item per customer. And I think, you know, guys, if you're waiting 4 hours in line to get one item, there's so many other things you can do with your time in that same amount of time, that if you spent that time
door dashing
on that or on stream, you could still be in the hobby, on stream, on TikTok, doing something. You know, it doesn't have to be streaming cards, making trades, but we'll get you more than just that one prismatic, you know, mini tin or surprise box that you got on Friday.
That's the only thing I have to say about that, is that in general, I think there's too much aggression on lines or people standing in front of stores. Honestly, I think a lot of people are just passionate collectors. And I think like the scalping thing is way more overinflated than it actually is. I think it's definitely a group of bad actors rather than like even 20 or 30% of the hobby. It's really much more a smaller portion than people think that are truly scalping. Because it's really not worth it.
Right. And I'll say this, and I'm sure actually if we're all honest with ourselves, guys, we can all come to this same conclusion, in that sometimes you may see someone buy a lot of stuff, and if there's other people there, like I've seen videos where someone was like using their, I don't know, like their son or daughter to like block their cart, and they were just like shoveling stuff. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, you know, I've been in front of a shelf with like other people where it's like, okay, yeah, you're getting one of those, I'll get an ET. Oh, you get a triple pack, I'll get a triple pack.
I'll tell you what I would do. Like, I'm gonna be really honest with people right now.
Yeah.
And if I see 4 Blooming Waters collection on a Walmart shelf, I'll probably grab all 4. If I can find 4, I will just grab 4.
Because you can't find. No, that's where I was going with this.
Right,
is
but
like, I
if
think
someone was there with me, like if there was like another customer and they're like, "Oh, I also want
I need
that,"
one.
I would share.
One. I believe you would.
Yes.
Yeah, same. So it's like, but what I guess the point I'm trying to make, and I'm sure everyone kind of thinks about this, and again, that's why, as we keep saying, scalping is a symptom of a problem, not the problem. But when there's not enough product on the shelf, you're going to have collectors that can't afford to get, they want to buy 3 or 4 Blooming Waters. That's enough packs for just one family, or that guy and his friends. And he's like, he has access to that product. So it's like, until they print enough where people go, oh, I can buy enough of this, and then there's enough to where I don't feel the need to get more off the shelf. I mean, they kind of did that with Charizard UPCs. And look at that. Everyone had a chance to get a Charizard UPC. Everyone either got their pre-orders or ended up buying Charizard UPCs for under pre-order prices. Right. And then there was still some left on the shelves.
Yeah.
With Prismatic, they're just not printing enough. And I think the issue is any collector that gets confused as a scalper is just like, they didn't get any here. They didn't get any at GameStop. Target pre-orders go up. They didn't get any. And then if they go into a shop and they see 3 boxes that have total of 9 or 12 packs, they can go, I would like to open up 12 packs, and they'll just get them. And a lot of people, given that same opportunity, would just get all the boxes.
Yeah, I've talked about this on my channel, is that ultimately when there's a scarcity, we all double our purchases. When there's a scarcity, you should all half your purchase because there's less. But everyone doubles their purchase.
Boom, great point.
And this happens all the time, like right now with the egg scares. Because eggs are so expensive, people are buying double the amount of eggs.
That's crazy. I made a TikTok on this that kind of went semi-viral. I think, okay, so when you scout Pokemon cards, it's that's lame. Because, I mean, it's a want, but it's not a need.
Right.
But scalpers have moved on to eggs where it's you're taking food from, they're literally, and then they're going on Facebook Marketplace. It's oh, I got a dozen eggs. They're
are they actually doing that? I've seen a lot of people.
People are scalping eggs right now, man.
Man, that is crazy.
That's the state of the economy.
Yeah,
I guess.
But basically that's what happens when there's a scarcity, is that people double their purchase because they think it's a rational thing to do.
Right.
You think it's rational to double your amount of purchase, but because everyone is doubling their amount of purchase, it makes it so that the market looks way irrational.
But in the inverse is also true.
Yeah.
Pointing out the Charizard when
things are plentiful.
Everyone is complaining about how they can't get product, but I think this is something like Nostalgianomics has brought up, and just other people that are maybe more in tune to the economy and the economics of it all. But it's half these people complaining, I can't get product. You're buying it. You're buying too much. I should be able to get some. A lot of those people that are making those points, it's fair, and if they've been in the hobby and collecting, it's fair. But I think there's a lot of people making that same noise that if Pokemon 10x'd production and just ramped up the printing, as soon as it was available everywhere, they wouldn't even be worried about getting any.
Yeah.
Now they don't want it because it's too readily available.
And I'm the same way, or you are the same way, is that ultimately when we know for sure that we can order a booster box at any time we want,
then you don't get as much. Then you get half as much when you have the ability to double your purchasing power.
Right, because I know it's going to be readily available. Right. I could order it tomorrow, then I don't need to order it today. The only reason we're ordering stuff today is because we don't think it's going to be available tomorrow.
And so when it's scarce, you buy more. That's so... And so I guess at the end of the day, I hope this helps dissipate some people's anger or frustrations out there, because that kind of psychological conundrum that we just brought up, that's with Pokemon cards or anything.
Yeah.
That is just a basic kind of how humans think and interact with products and scarcity of goods in life.
I think people are going to say, I get it, and I'm still angry.
I still want my Pokemon.
Yeah, I get it, but I still want my Pokemon cards. This episode of the Card Lounge podcast is sponsored by Misprint.com. Check them out. Link to them is down in the description.
Misprint.com is a new website marketplace that makes it super easy to sell your graded Pokemon cards. Jake, what makes them so much easier?
I'm glad you asked. You know what I hate about buying and selling Pokemon cards online is I have to scroll through thousands of listings of the exact same card, and hopefully I can find the best listing for the most affordable price. All of that is on a single page on misprint.com.
Right. I do like how they keep it there on a single page. The whole process that we have now of taking 1 million photos for 1,000 listings for each card that you want to put up, and then you just got to hope and pray that some buyer just happens to scroll past your specific listing.
Yep, definitely check out misprint.com down in the description. Sign up to them today. They are a brand new website, but we really believe in this service. It's run by our good friend Ava's Binder, and I do believe that this is going to change the way that we buy and sell Pokemon cards in the future. Sign up to misprint.com right now, and they are currently having their misprice special where they have some unique Pokemon cards at significantly cheaper prices than they normally would be. Check them out today and let them know that Robo and Jake sent you.
What do you think about Prismatic Evolutions UPC? You think Pokemon prints as many as they did the Charizard UPCs? Because if they could do that, that might help solve a lot of this.
You probably saw the leak, but like someone working in the warehouse took photos of the Prismatic Ultra Premium collections being built. And the funny thing was I saw so many people doing stories about it. And I didn't do a story about it because to me it was a nothing burger.
Yeah.
But everyone was saying, look at how many Prismatic Evolutions Ultra Premium collections are being printed. And I was thinking, it's like 3 pallets.
It's nothing. Wait, you saw stories like that?
What?
See, I saw the opposite.
What do you wait? No. I think it's a nothing burger. People are making it big.
No, but that's my point. You're talking about the photo with the pallets.
Yeah.
So this is also the funny thing about just news.
Okay, so what did that story brought to you?
Well, I'm just saying I saw TikTok of the exact opposite of what you're saying.
Is that like they thought it was very little?
Little. You're looking at a photo and you're saying you're seeing content where someone's like, look, guys, they're going to print so much. Look at this entire palette.
Yeah.
I'm saying I'm seeing content where someone took the same exact photo, but they're going, look, guys, look how empty it's just this palette, and that's going to it's going to be nothing. And they're both using the same source of information.
Ultimately,
and saying two opposite things.
Probably like neither of them are true. You can't really gauge how many ultra premium collections are being printed
from just that one photo.
From like 2 or 3 photos of pallets. Yeah. It's not. It's like that's one Costco. Like, so I get it. It's like one Costco's worth of products. But I hope they print a ton of those. And it looks like a lot to me. But like we'll just have to wait and see.
Also, have you seen the graded prices on the Charizard promos? I remember when everyone was saying, oh, they printed too many of the UPCs, so the promos are going to not be worth anything. And I'm like, what are you talking about? They're Charizard alt arts.
Yeah, they've been climbing a lot, but pretty much like every card is climbing a lot. I've been seeing the prices on the ETB promos too. Those are insane. The Charizard promos, I know the one where he's fighting Mewtwo is the most expensive of the 3. There's the Sleepy Charizard, there's the Godzilla Charizard, and the one where he's fighting Mewtwo.
Correct.
The Mewtwo V-Star is the most popular of the 3. I think that one's like between 300 and 400 right now. The market's moving so quickly, and that's just one graded card inside of the UPC.
In a PSA 10, it's that much?
In a PSA 10, it's literally $300 or $400. I can check for you. Not that it's that important because the prices are moving so quickly, but I know like the ETB promos, I'm not even sure if it's the Pokemon Center one. The Pokemon Center ones are very expensive, but even like the regular ETB promos inside of ETBs, those are already going for like hundreds, $200, $300.
And not just the Scarlet Violet ones. So do you remember the celebrations, the Gold Star Greninja Shiny?
Yeah.
I just recently saw, there were some people posting stories about this. I'm pretty sure I have an image that I can send you over. People just like finding old stashes of Gold Star Greninjas, but a PSA 10 recently sold for $400.
Yeah.
And I think a couple before that, they were in the 300s. I remember in a 10 when that used to be like a $40, $50.
And I'm going to say it right now. I 100% people can quote this, but I think that Greninja Star card is going to drop down to probably $100 in a PSA 10. I think that's much more likely. And I'm going to tell you why.
Okay,
because
tell us why,
all
Jake.
of those people that have ETBs full of like those Greninja promo cards are all going to grade them at PSA because it's a $400 card. You're going to grade that all day long.
Yeah, I've been thinking about doing that.
And you're going to offload that on the market, and that's going to tank it over the course of 2 years because guess what? There's probably there's probably 100,000 of those out there.
Get out of my head, Jake. It's like you're in there just rummaging around. Yes, that's exactly what I was going to do because why would I not grade all those now? Do you have a bunch of those raw?
Yeah, because I
have a bunch of those raw.
Because we all open up a bunch of Celebrations ETB.
Yeah, and we've all just been holding. So when people talk about the whole like market manipulation and lizard people conspiracy things of people that just have a lot of Pokemon cards, do you think this is what do you see how this could just create a natural like what if there was a guy that he saw he had 100, 200 Gold Star Greninjas raw.
Yeah.
And
there are people out there with 200 copies of those.
But I'm saying, like, what if he just got his friend to be like, hey, just, list your Gold Star Greninja PSA 10 on eBay for $399. Mm-hmm. $400. And his friend's like, that's not going to sell for that. And then he just goes, no, I'll buy it at that amount. We all see that last sale. And then we all go, oh, it was bought and paid for. And then we all immediately, like not planning it with other collectors or other people that have a lot of friends, just as a world thought, as a community thought, in the same way you just described it.
Yeah.
We all kind of collectively go, oh, I've got some of those raw. It just sold for $4. I'll go grade. I will go grade them.
That's what people are doing.
And then that happens.
Yes.
And it's just like, but you can kind of trigger that almost because anyone can just go buy a slab. And so it's like,
it's not that easy because you can't just buy one slab. You need to buy a lot of slabs. It's
well,
not
I think someone just bought one slab at $400.
You think just one Greninja Star sold for? I mean, like
for $400. I mean, okay.
I mean, like you don't think like there's hundreds of listings?
No. Well, to your point, there were other sold listings like between $300 and $400, where you're just like, okay, yeah, this is a lot of money for this once under $100 slab.
Sure.
And to your point, do I agree with you that this will probably drop back down to the 100 range?
I'm gonna say it. I think it's a $100 PSA 10 card, which is very strong for a free ETB promo that is available inside of every single Celebrations Elite Trainer box, which they did print like 100,000 of.
I think in this market, it could be more than that. I think it could be like 150 or 200.
In a year or two, like let's see where. I think for sure it drops. Like from 400, it's going to tank.
You know what it is, though? It's
not immediately. It's going to take a couple months for all those graded cards to make it back onto the market.
Right. When all the graded cards come into the market, obviously there'll be like a race to the bottom. I think long term, though, it is kind of cool that for Celebrations, they brought back one Gold Star. Greninja's a fan favorite. It's a shiny Greninja.
Greninja Gold Star wasn't an old card, right? You know that?
No. Yeah, it was new. Yeah. But that's my point. It's like, I do think when you look at the staying power and even new people getting into the hobby, do they like to collect ultra modern stuff like the Moonbryon? Sure. But there's one thing that people always go back and look at for vintage beyond just the first set, like base set Jungle Fossil. It's the Gold Stars. Gold Stars, I think crystal types, the Gold Star set is like a highly coveted vintage set.
It just depends. And some sets were like massive hits and some sets were massive flops.
No, right. But this was a massive hit.
Sure.
And I think to technically complete that massive hit set now, you need that Gold Star Greninja technically in the set. And I think that gives it a little bit more, I'll say that makes it a little bit more important than say some of the more recent
but I will say
ETB
one thing
promos coming out. Like
the one thing I'll say about that is that if you're collecting Gold Star card, the Greninja Gold Star is probably like the bottom of the barrel on the list because I would say any other Gold Star card is easier to get. Like literally there's 50,000 Greninja Gold Star cards.
Right.
And if you're going to collect them all, like obviously like the Umbreon Gold Star or any of the other ones are way
harder. No, right. But do you see how because the other ones are way harder, in a weird way it works both ways, right? Population is much higher. So it's way easier to get. But people also think it's a cool card and then they're also going to be like, okay, I can't get the Umbreon Gold Star. I can't get the Celebi Gold Star. I would like a Gold Star in my collection. I can't get the Charizard Gold Star. I can't get the Rayquaza Gold Star. But I can get the Greninja Gold Star. And people will might want it as
I think it's a cool card. Like,
I think the demand of it, and it's kind of a very like worldwide kind of appeal. And the fact that, Greninja is technically like the most favorite.
But do you see how like it's very interesting right now that you're hyping up this card, but would you have been hyping up this card 2 months ago? But would you be hyping it up now because it's way more valuable or way more popular? It's not just more valuable; it's way more popular.
Sure. Well, I'm not really hyping it up. I'm just commenting on what I'm seeing in the marketplace.
But
I don't need to hype it because. Well, I've always thought it was cool. I've always thought it was undervalued. That's why I have the raw copies that I have.
I mean, I would say I have it in my collection, and I think it's neat.
Yeah.
I wouldn't really say it's a card that I am like super hyped over or anything like that. And there's plenty of cards like that in people's collection or thoughts, like the Bubble Mew. If it was not on your underrated list, nor my underrated list when we did an underrated list of cards, could have been, maybe, but you didn't have it on yours and I didn't have it on mine. I'm not really a Mew collector, and I don't think you are either. We think it's a cool card. I just don't think it's like $1,000 PSA 10 card cool. But if people really do love it, then go ahead.
Is it $1,000 in a PSA 10 right now?
Let me look it up for you because I think it's over $1,000 right now, actually.
All right, let's look that up.
Okay, Bubble Mew EX graded copies in a PSA 10. Yeah, they're going for right around $1,000 in a PSA 10. And the population report says there's 7,500 copies of them.
Are you serious?
What's wrong? Well, I don't know why you're so surprised. Every car has been doubling or tripling in value.
That's true.
It was $600 like 2 months ago. So it being $1,000 to me right now seems like, oh, that's actually kind of a slow pace climb compared to other cards, actually.
I honestly, I just remember when it was like not that special. But I knew Mew collectors. Like I can even think of one locally. He just had a ton.
Right.
And I was even helping him grade some. And it was like that weekend, like I saw the price shift happen over the weekend. Sure. It like doubled overnight. And then like the next night, two, 3 nights, it was like triple. It was like, and then it just started to skyrocket.
And that's how like cars gain their value is that now everyone kind of agrees or nods along that it's $1,000 card.
So I'm sure this is something that the viewers would love to, what is the thing that makes it super, just a card blow up overnight? Like what would be
I'm trying to, it's
the catalyst?
It's the exact same thing that we were saying earlier. Or a very similar scenario, and I've talked about this on my channel because I do that kind of content, is that rationally, you're a sensible collector. And you might want that card inside of your collection if you don't have it. You might not have thought that it was like the best card in the world, but you kind of want it in your collection. It's a Mew, and it's a shiny Mew, and it is a cool card. It's not a bad card. We don't think it's bad. We think it's cool. So we get it. But obviously, if you think this card, which is currently, let's say, $600, is going to go up to $650 or $700 in a week, then the rational thing to do as a collector is to pick it up. That's the rational thing to do. But if every collector also has that exact same rational thought of, hey, I need to pick up this Bubble Mew, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where the price goes up because everyone picks up a copy because they think that's the rational thing to do. But it creates the market doing something irrationally, which spikes the value.
So then is it not just a bunch of rational people making the rational play, but just off of a rational person's first initial move?
No.
That is always the creating of any trend in the marketplace?
I wouldn't say anyone is doing it irrationally. I think that one person could be buying 20 Mews, and they could do that rationally, where they say, yes, I just love this Mew. You know what I mean?
They just like that card.
Right. And that's a rational decision on them.
They don't expect it to go up. You know what's so funny? And what does this bleed into the number one thing we always tell new people coming into the hobby? People, just collect what you love. If you collect what you love and what you like, and not just when people ask us, oh, what should I be collecting? That's always the just silliest question. You should just collect what you enjoy looking at, what you personally would love to have in your collection. I've done that for so many things, and I think those honestly have been the things that have performed the best. Sure. If you want to just look at them purely from like a financial perspective play. But all the ones that you could say were my best financial perspective plays, I wasn't getting them to make a financial play. I was just like the Battle Festa Pikachus.
Yeah.
Well, all the BGS 10 ones I have, I just got them because I thought I was like, these are beautiful promo cards.
Like ultimately the best plays that I have as well are the ones that I just bought a card and I held it forever. If you hold a card forever, that's usually the best play. Yeah. Once you sell a card, obviously your play is done. But my best plays are obviously things like the Mario Pikachu, like the Scream Mimikyu, or my Latios and Latios Tag Team GX. But I bought those cards because I liked them, not because I expected them to go up. I bought them because I like them. So cards that I don't have inside of my collection is a good example. I don't have an Umbreon VMAX inside of my collection. Mm-hmm. I don't have a Bubble Mew inside of my collection. And I'm okay with that because they don't fit in my collection. Are they cool cards? They are, and I would like to have one if I pull one. But I'm not going to actively try to buy one because I'm a Pikachu collector. I'm a Japanese promo collector. Yeah. They don't really fit inside of my general collection. So that's why I don't
really care for a Moonbreon. And it's also like your ability to get one over the next 5-10 years will be so much easier to get than, say, some of the stuff that you like eyeball or that you have in your collection already. Like guys, there was a point in time where I could have got all 4 of the Mario, Luigi, the full arts and the mini guys all in a PSA 10 for $5K total. And I thought in that moment that was too much to spend on just 4 cards.
And it might have been because
and I was wrong.
Well, you did something with those 5 cards, with that $5,000.
I did. That's true. I guess I started a Pokemon business. I guess that was, it was around that time actually.
Because if you bought those cards, were you going to hold them until now? Because if you held them till now, obviously those cards would have been more valuable, but now you have $5,000 less to spend.
It's true.
So you did something with them instead.
I did do other stuff with that $5,000, I guess.
Yeah. So I don't beat myself up for not having like an Umbreon VMAX or something. And you're right in that for the next 10, 50 years, literally for the next 50 years, if I want an Umbreon VMAX, I'm not saying it's going to be cheap, but there will always be Umbreon VMAX available at every single card convention we'll go to for the rest of our lives.
And you can get it. You know what? And actually, guys, Jake has told me this before. And actually, I hope everyone could kind of see. You know what? You just made me feel a little bit better because I know you've told me before, as I try to build my card business and I grow and just add stuff to my collection, but also grow in the ability to, I guess if I just get more money, like if I just get richer now from all the hard work of putting in, like from growing a business from like nothing to where I'm at now, it's kind of like what you say about spending the $5K on those 4 cards. That $5K probably went and contributed to how I got to where I am today.
Yeah.
And eventually, I guess even if I had to spend $13,000 on all 4 of those cards, when I know at one point I could have spent $5,000.
Correct.
That was probably $5,000, guys, out of my bank account probably had $7,000 in it. So it just wouldn't have been worth it to spend because I had to live my life. And I was like, that's too much for those cards. Of course, if I had just infinite money, would I have bought it because I liked them? Sure. But if I have to spend more money later, $13,000, but let's say I've got $100,000 in my bank account, and that only happened because I grew my business, and that only happened because I didn't spend that $5,000 on those 4 Mario and Luigi Pikachus. Spending $13K on it later, when I have much more capital at hand, will be less of an impact on me, even though I had to get the cards later, than if I'd have bought it earlier in life.
Yeah, and I think lots of people are in that same scenario where a lot of people are currently really FOMOing on certain cards. I get emails all the time saying, hey man, I really want to buy this card. It's $800. I can't really afford to buy it right now, but you think I should pick it up? And I tell them, well, you just answer the question. You can't afford that card right now. Do not pick it up. Because even if you pick it up, you're going to lose sleep over it because you're going to be sweating over how you're going to pay your bills. What are you going to eat? You're going to be worried about that card being lost and damaged. Even if I could get a $100,000 Pokemon card, let's say I could get a really expensive trophy card, I don't want it in my collection. If I get it in my collection, the first thing I would do is sell it because I can't afford to have it in my collection because I would lose sleep over it. I would have to have it insured. You know what I mean, right? As soon as you get if I give you a $100,000 Pokemon card right now, you would probably sell it immediately because you can't really have it in your collection.
Well, if I got a good deal on it and I think I could keep
Let's say it's free. Like I literally gave you a free $100,000 Pokemon card.
Then I would just keep it in my collection. It's free.
But you get what I mean, right? I would immediately sell it.
Lose sleep on
it. No. I would immediately sell it because I would rather have $100,000.
Well, sure.
That's what I mean.
If people were to offer me something on it where I knew I was okay giving it up, I guess if there was a really cool trophy card, I mean, there's so many Pikachu trophy cards now, and like, I guess owning one personally would be kind of a cool, like that is a Pikachu card that I would like to have.
Okay,
you know?
I see where you
If I got it for free, I'd be like, you know what, I could afford to keep this in my collection.
Sure. If it was me, I would sell it.
You're right. Your story works more with how you were, but like, if I have to give up a large sum of my capital or my net worth to have it in my collection, and all of that is now sunk cost, and there's someone that's like, oh, I'll give you money for it, and they're willing to pay me like $25,000 more to just know that I could just sell it to them and just immediately increase, like, and then not have to worry about, like, holding on to it, insuring it. Oh, what if I lose it? There is something to say about that. So that also means, guys, it's like, as you want to collect more and more expensive things, it's you can't really be in the same kind of financial position as you increase the amount of cards that you collect. And that is true, because then if you get a financial bind, like Jake's scenario where he said someone was hitting him up like, oh, I don't know if I can afford this. Should I buy the Moonbryon? No, if you can't afford it, when you want to buy the Moonbryon is when you don't even have to think twice about it. When you go, I can spend $3K on that, and if that $3K disappears, that doesn't affect you or your family's livelihood in any way. I think where people make the mistake is they overspend, they spend $3K. Let's say you find a Moonbryon for $2K, but you don't have $2K to spend. Is that a good deal? Sure. You pick it up for $2K though. Let's say you need to pay bills next month or your car breaks down and you don't have any spare, you don't have a savings, you have no extra funds. What's most likely the scenario that's going to happen? You're going to be desperate for that money. You're going to sell, and you're not going to find someone that right next door that will give you $2,000 or even $3,000. You might have to sell it for 1.7, and then you just lost money all because you put yourself in a position where you were in a hyper sensitive state to rush to sell it, and you just never want to be in that position to necessarily have to deal with your personal collection or just your cards in general, right? Because your collectibles shouldn't be giving you stress. They should be giving you joy.
So ultimately, like when I say like welcome to the hobby, I literally mean it. I see it as a hobby. I do it because it's fun. I do it because it's my expendable income. Right. I'm not doing this because I need it to survive or something like that. We like being here just because it's fun. And if Pokemon card is stressing you out, like that's definitely a terrible scenario that we don't want you to be in. So if you're experiencing stress or something of that nature, then take a breather. It's okay to take a breather. Don't feel like you have to be angry at the hobby.
You don't have to collect every card. You don't have to collect every set. And I don't have a Moonbryon in my collection, but I also know I'm not leaving this hobby. I'm going to be collecting cards till I'm 99 years old. And I'm pretty sure in the next 20 years, I will find a good deal on a Moonbryon and I'll add it to my collection then. So I'm not worried about it.
Another thing on that is that I absolutely agree, but I also don't have like that large of a collection. I know a lot of people think I have a large collection, but every card that I add to my collection now, I pretty much have to sell off a card because I've reached like the limit of my collection where if I add another card, it's almost like I can't maintain it. There's only so many cards I can keep track of at any given time. You know what I mean? Where I cannot keep track of another 100 slabs or another 100 products. I don't have the space to display them. I don't really have the ability. Though. Huh? But you know what I mean, right?
I know what you mean, but I guess you could expand your collection. I'm actually curious.
Right. Like, could I envelop my house in more Pokemon cards? I could, but I don't want to. Yeah. I like having my Pokemon corner. And that's between different collectors, ultimately. But I reach a point where if I add another slab, I almost have to let go of a slab because I can only enjoy or keep track of so many cards in my head at any time.
And you know what? I get what you mean by that. It's interesting, though. Won't you hit a wall, though, where eventually you're like, okay, what can I get rid of? But everything that's left in your collection will be the Scream,
You think that, but I still like... What's interesting is our taste in Pokemon cards change with time. Is there a point where I say like, okay, I don't really enjoy this card as much, and can it go to another collector that will enjoy it more?
Sure.
Absolutely. And then I will pick up a different card that I think I would be really excited by. And that's the interesting thing is that our collection taste changes with time. Yeah. Like right now, I think I told you recently, but I started collecting a ton of food cards, and I think it's really exciting to say like, ooh, all these cards with food or pastry arts in the arts are really, really cool. And that could change with time. Obviously, I love my Poncho Pikachu and Cosplay Pikachu, but that was an era. It was an era of Pokemon cards. They don't really do Poncho or Cosplay Pikachus anymore.
I know, I wish, but dude, if they brought a new Poncho back, I mean, do you see how well Ponchos are like doing right now? They're crazy. So I'm kind of like, and that's, you know what's so funny? That's something that I would love to collect. So I know there's more collectors out there that want to get more of them, which means only and I don't have any in my collection.
Sure.
I know people that have gotten they're newer in the hobby than me, and they've somehow been able to obtain one of each of them quicker. And I'm just like, did they just spend all the money on those ponchos?
We both know that there are like millionaire collectors who they're an actor, they're a singer, they're a rapper, they're someone famous or rich through whatever
But
means.
I'm talking not those people are even like, I want to get every poncho in a BGS 10. And I'm like, that's expensive. Like, I can't even afford to do that right now.
If your dad is like a high enough executive at Microsoft, that's fine too. Like, there's so many rich people out there. I don't think people realize how many rich people there are. There's a ton of dirt poor people too, but there's enough people that are being a millionaire is so much less of a big deal than it was even 30 years ago. Like 30 years ago, being a millionaire, you kind of made it, but nowadays, like you need like almost 10 million to be at the same level as a million.
Right. Just with the internet, it does seem like it's you just see all these like young millionaires and they like had a drop shipping app or did a thing on their phone and
they sold a finance course and somehow they're a millionaire.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy. And then those kids are not even some will be like 25, 30 or 35, whatever, but those people can just, I guess they could pick up like
whatever they want.
10 Pokemon cards that add up to $100,000, and it's like they know they'll make another 100,000 in like a month.
Yeah,
so
it's like someone could literally eat up my whole entire collection for lunch, and it's not they don't even have to sweat over it or blink about it.
I know, that is pretty crazy. Oh man, yeah, card shows have been crazy popular lately.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, I'm going to a couple of card shows later just this year. There's a bunch of really cool ones happening in Las Vegas. If people are ever actually in Las Vegas and they just want to come visit us, because obviously we go to a bunch of trading card shows. You go to CollectionCon. We got Front Row Card Show here. We actually have a new card show in Las Vegas.
Oh,
I think they're doing a couple of shows. I'll definitely take you to it. It's the Las Vegas Card Show.
Ooh.
Their first show is happening between February 28th through March 1st. So if you guys ever want to come down to Las Vegas in the time and check us out, we'll be at the Las Vegas Card Show. I'll be live streaming the whole entire thing. So even if you're not here, you can watch it and we'll make some deals. I know a lot of other vendors are going to be there, so I think it's going to be a ton of fun. They're doing it a little bit differently compared to other conventions.
Oh,
because,
in what way?
Like a lot of conventions, it's normally just like a vendor hall and you're just doing wheeling, dealing. They're trying to do a couple of other stuff where it's more of like a true convention where there's other events happening.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah, I think like they have an MVP night where you'll actually get to meet like a famous football player or have a meet and greet.
Okay.
And they have events for kids and other little stuff. So if you guys want to check it out, check out the Las Vegas Card Show. We'll be at the event. If you see us, definitely say hi.
Nice. Las Vegas Card Show. Okay, speaking of market plays and moves, like what's just one recent purchase you've made that you feel like will do well later or that you're excited about adding into your collection? And I'll tell you one thing that I've made and then we can, end this episode there.
The recent one would be like the Shrouded Fable Premium Collection. I really want a Greninja EX PSA 10.
Oh, yeah.
And a Kingdra EX PSA 10.
Yeah, they look beautiful.
I literally just opened up 2 boxes from my collection. I have a couple of them. I still have a couple. So I looked at the front of them and I picked the 2 that I thought the centering and the front looked the best. I took them out the boxes.
In the back?
And they were immediately damaged. And neither of them have a shot at being a 10.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I have to open up even more of these.
You got to open up more.
It's like the older challenges. The Armor Mewtwo?
Yeah.
The amount of lunchbox tins I had to open up to find a mint PSA 10. Of
course.
It took so many. And people 4 years ago, guys, call me a scalper, but I had to open up a ton of Armor Mewtwo, like fall of 2018 tins or lunchbox just to get one PSA 10s. And that's just how being a collector was. No one cared back then that I was opening up 20 of these lunchbox tin. But obviously, if I did that now, I look like a massive scalper.
Yeah. You know what? That bleeds into mine. Mine is the Flareon, Jolteon, Vaporeon V Max collection alt arts. So those are promos.
Yeah.
Those are pinched in with the plastic. Very hard to get 10s. And I remember I should have got 10s 6 months ago before the hobby was on fire. I had a bunch at Jake's place. Yeah. We tried to grade a bunch and I only got 3 10s, I think, out of like 20 shots.
I'll let the viewers know. Okay?
30 shots.
We graded 24 of the EV promo cards.
Yeah.
And we got 4 PSA 10s.
Oh, my goodness.
And some of them were duplicates, so that's even worse.
Right.
Because you want the complete set.
Yeah.
But ultimately, that's 4 out of 24, so literally like an 18% chance of being a 10, which is rough.
I got a Flareon V Max at my buddy West's place, but I think after that, I just need the Flareon V and the Jolteon V. But you know what? A lasting tidbit of advice that would help you guys out. Don't sleep on promo cards, guys, especially grading very good copy ones. So if you can find raw promo cards in the wild that look clean, you got to remember these promo cards are pinched into the plastic. And with how Pokemon does it half the time, over 50% of the population of them already come damaged from the get-go. So,
I agree with that. The one thing I'll leave it on is that follow good art, because the one thing I'll say with every single card that is popping off right now is that they all have good art. That's the one thing I would say they all have in common, is that if a card popped off recently, it probably is a really iconic card with good art.
I told that to my stream just last night. That's
it's
so
true.
funny you say
it's
that.
It's true.
Guys, appreciate good art. Some people have the eye for it. Some people don't. If you notice that your friend is good at picking out good art, maybe talk to your friend. Of course, collect what you love, because beauty is always going to be in the eye of the beholder. But sometimes you just, you look at cards. It's why the Magikarp from Paldea Evolved, even though it's just a art rare and not a special SAR, still goes for more than the SARs in that same set, because the artwork is just fantastic. So, always keep an eye out for good artwork, because that'll always be appreciated in collectibles.
Yep. I'm going to be at the Las Vegas Card Show in 2 weeks at the end of February 28th through March 1st. If you guys are in Las Vegas, come down to the Las Vegas Card Show. You might see me or Rob there. We can hang out, take some photos. It's a great show. A ton of fun. Definitely check them out.
Yep. And thanks for listening to the podcast, everyone. And we'll see you on the next one.